Hi everyone, my name is Rishad. Today is the 13th of July 2025 and I'll be going over my weekly prediction for Bitcoin. As usual, I'll be going over the monthly, weekly, and finally the daily charts. And then I'll switch over to the Excel sheet where we'll review last week's, well, in this case 3 weeks ago's prediction and this one in more detail. But before getting into the video, it's important to make the disclaimer that all information here is completely educational and therefore it is important to conduct your own analysis, whatever analysis that may be, to ensure that you're comfortable with the risk, reward, and trading style, since you may not be with mine. But with that out of the way, let's get into the video. So we see on this monthly chart here, Bitcoin massive uptrend. We see that there was a few short-term declines here, but we see there was a massive boom now. MACD has been positive throughout, so if you had trusted this indicator and the RSI, in this case, you would have made a lot of money. However, RSI we see was overbought, came back down, overbought, came back down, which means it's typically a good timing signal. Now we see we are overbought again, however, it hasn't crossed back down. So when this cross happens, this is when we see these short-term declines. Or even in this case, long-term ones. We see a huge decline here, then we had another peak and we've got confirmation of that, that double top. So besides the point, we see now we are in a massive uptrend. We're at actually all-time highs for Bitcoin. And that's what we gain from the monthly charts. Weekly charts give a similar kind of pattern. We see we had this double top, massive breakdown. However, not enough time to capitalize. It's actually a failed pattern. And we went all the way back up to this high. However, we see volume has been declining throughout this entire time. And we see that MACD, although bullish, and RSI as well showing bullish signals, we do need to be wary of that declining volume and see that it might not be just an overextended uptrend. However, we do need price to give us an indication before we can make any decisions. That's what we gain. So we are now we've crossed above this resistance here, closed right above, and this next week was incredibly bullish for Bitcoin. So again, similarly, we see this in the daily charts. We see that we had this massive breakout. We had this close above, and if you had rightly invested here, then you would have made a lot of money. Similarly, MACD has been bullish throughout. We see we had this crossover here, and then there was no looking back, which is where this uptrend came from, and RSI further confirming this price action. We had a huge volume spike here and then decline in volume. We had this doji candle here, and now we see, and Bitcoin, since it is active 24/7, we see it actually crossed up here, but then it wasn't able to really, not yet at least, close above this high. So if this does happen, then we have our signal pretty much automatically. But yeah, that's what we have from the daily charts. So if we switch over to the Excel sheet, we see we'll buy Bitcoin if it crosses 119,450 and sell if it falls below 111,282 with a target of 2.5%, trailing stop loss of 1.25%. And if neither the target or stop loss is hit, we will close on Friday. The weekly and monthly trend are up for Bitcoin. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Enjoy, and I will see you in the next one.